Coming up, Episode 12, Can the Placebo Effect Create Spontaneous Healings? Part 3, with Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Welcome to Having It All, Lifestyles of the Rich and Conscious with MarBeth Dunn, featuring experts and pioneers in health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality, creating a happier, healthier, wealthier you.
Welcome to the Having It All Show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Conscious. I'm your host, MarBeth Dunn, empath, intuitive coach, mentor, best-selling author, and creator of the Spiritual Wealth Activation System, a step-by-step process to create miracles and abundance. If you're a frequent listener, thank you for subscribing to our show. And if you're new, welcome home. If you like what you hear, please join us weekly by subscribing to the show. Visit TheHavingItAllShow.com/ITC. Then click the blue View in iTunes button to subscribe. Coming up, Part 2 of a 3-podcast series with world-renowned neuroscientist, chiropractor, lecturer, and author, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe, please share with us the third principle of the placebo effect.
The last thing is called assigning meaning. And when you assign meaning to something, you get better value out of it. So when you tell people what the drug does and you explain the mechanisms, the drug may not even do it. In other words, those people that were conditioned into believing that the pill would take their pain away, the research shows that their brain is making 200 times the amount of endorphins in their brain, their own morphine substances, to look like they have taken the pill. So if you're able to have a person's conscious mind understand what the placebo may be doing, and you begin to tell them more specifically, when they put their intention behind it, when they put their energy behind it, when they put their faith in it, it amplifies the results. And here's an experiment I talk about in the placebo. You are the placebo. They took a group of Latin American maids and they separated them for a few days and they observed them going through all of their daily chores. They watched them flip mattresses and move furniture, or scrub tiles and push vacuums and make beds. And they realized that these women exceeded the Surgeon General's requirement for exercise. They were burning more calories than they were eating. However, the majority of these women were overweight. So in the moment, to make the test viable, they divided these women into 2 groups. One group continued doing exactly what you're doing and don't tell them anything. In the second group, sit down and do a short little seminar and tell them the benefits of exercise. Tell them that they're actually burning more calories than they're eating, what calories are. Tell them the benefits of exercise, that it helps to reduce body fat, that it increases muscle tone, that it reduces your waist size. It's good for the heart and it increases self-esteem. Well, at the end of just 1 month, the majority of the maids had lost weight. They had a smaller waist circumference. They had less body fat, lean body fat. Their heart rates had dropped 10 beats per minute. Their blood pressure went down and their self-esteem was improved. Now, they did nothing differently, but they just assigned meaning. They put more intention behind what they were doing, or they were more aware of what they were doing. So once you understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, then all of a sudden you start to get more benefits from it. So there's an important element with the placebo, and you start thinking about media and television commercials and how maybe much of the information that we're getting may not even be the truth, and maybe it's part of this whole process is a deprogramming process. And I think that was one of the biggest realizations that I had when writing this book, that how programmed we may really be, that may not even be the truth.
I loved what you were saying, and I know that meditation also is a key element in your process. Can you talk a little bit more about the type of meditation? And I noticed that in addition to the book that you have for sale, You Are the Placebo, you also offer a couple of meditations as well.
We like the model of meditation because the actual translation of the word meditation means to become familiar with. And so the meditation that we used for my second book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which is the companion book to Evolve, and that's the basics of how to change, means if it means to become familiar with, you have to become familiar with your unconscious thoughts and make them conscious, become aware of your automatic behaviors and pay attention to those emotions. And the more you put your attention and awareness on them, the more familiar they'll become to you, which means you're not going to go unconscious again. And as you begin to think about the thoughts you do want to fire and wire in your brain, and you begin to plan and rehearse your behaviors, and you begin to teach your body emotionally what that future event is going to feel like ahead of the actual event, and you do that every day, you'll begin to become familiar with those states of mind and body. So the majority of people's attention is on their external environment. You know, their attention is on their bodies, the people and things and places and objects in their external world, and their attention is on time, the body, the environment, and time. So meditation really, the goal then is to separate yourself from your associations to your environment, to disconnect from your external world, to put your body away and no longer be defined as a body or an identity. And if you do that properly, you will forget about time. And the moment you're nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, and no time, you're pure consciousness, that's the moment you have dominion over your body and you can change your health of your body. That's the moment you can begin to observe a new future reality that's no longer the same as your past reality. And that's the moment you can create something in your external environment. So in order for us to change our life, we have to forget about our life. In order for us to heal our body, we have to forget about our body and our identity. In order for us to create some future time, we have to forget about our present, past reality in order to be able to do that. So we use the model of meditation, and we do a specific type of meditation as an induction, because if all of your attention is on things and objects and people, then you're focusing on the material aspects of reality. You're focusing on the particle in quantum physics instead of on the energy and possibility. Now, the atom's more than 99% energy and information and less than 1% material. So we're missing out on the large majority of reality because all of our attention is on objects and people and things. We're focusing on matter instead of information. So if you close your eyes then and you begin to put your awareness on the space around you in space and the space that your body occupies in space, we've seen this on so many brain scans, the brain starts to get highly organized. It starts getting very coherent. It starts to become very integrated. And when the brain starts getting more organized, the front of the brain starts talking to the back of the brain, the left-hand side of the brain starts talking to the right-hand side of the brain, you start seeing this wholeness, this whole brain state forming, and that whole brain state, that coherence that's created, is what I call the natural state of being. And when we're living by the hormones of stress, anger, fear, aggression, hostility, judgment, envy, jealousy, insecurity, depression, guilt, shame, all those emotions, hopelessness, that's the brain functioning in a very disintegrated or incoherent fashion. And when the brain's incoherent, you're incoherent. So we open our focus to focus on more of the energy and information, and the brain starts getting very organized. And that coherent signature that's in the field as well as in your brain begins to cause the person to feel more connected and more whole. And I've read so many amazing stories of people healing themselves, and I can tell you, one of the things that happens over and over again is that they reach such a level of wholeness and such a level of satisfaction and such a level of joy that they no longer care if they even have the disease. That's the moment it goes away. So we open our focus as an induction to change our brain waves from beta to alpha and ultimately into theta, but not only just change your brain waves, but create coherent, organized, synchronized brainwave patterns, because what syncs together links together in the brain. Once we do that, now we're in fertile ground. The person then moves into the present moment, and we teach people how to do that in our workshops and in the book. Once they're in the present moment, that's where all possibilities exist in the quantum field, and now they're ready to change a belief or perception about themselves and their life, which is really the meditation of the placebo. and also whatever else they want to create for themselves. So we use a specific formula, and it's not based on any traditional or cultural or religious association. I think science is the contemporary language of mysticism, and so we use a very simple scientific method to include everybody and create community. And I think that most people resonate with that.
We'll be back to our show in just a moment. Would you agree that the current state of the world is angry, chaotic, turbulent, and possibly insane? And that's not even mentioning everyone's personal issues. We all need miracles, and now is the time. I'm MarBeth Dunn, the Miracle Mama. Imagine a river of miracles flowing into your life, bringing harmonious relationships, better health, prosperity, clarity, peace of mind, and a deep sense of joy. What if you could know all your needs are being met and feel calm and peaceful even in the midst of turbulent change? Get your free guide now, 7 Easy Ways to Harness the Power of Miracles at miracles101.com. That's miracles101.com, and live your miraculous life. That's very powerful. I noticed in your book the amazing story of Sophia, who was able to see, actually visually see, with her eyes closed during the meditation. Would you like to share that with our listeners?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I was just in Australia, and she's from Sydney, Australia, and I just got back this week. Well, last week. Last week. And, when we have people unfold their awareness into the unknown, that means that beyond space and time, that quantum field is a field of information where there's no people, no things, there's no places, there's no objects, there's no identities. You're just basically a thought and possibility. And when you invest your energy in the unknown, you get the unknown. And if you keep putting your attention on the known, then you keep collapsing infinite patterns of information into the same patterns of reality called your life. And so she had the ability to linger in the unknown and dissociated. And of course, I was looking at her. There was, a lot of people in the audience a couple of years ago in Sydney. And I walked over on the stage. She was about 3 rows back, and I waved at her, and with her eyes closed, she waved back at me. So then I called my 2 trainers that were helping me over to the stage, and I pointed at her again, and with her eyes closed, she started laughing and waved to me and the 2 trainers. And this started a whole process of her being able to see without eyes. And we've measured her brainwave patterns, and of course, she's definitely non-local in that moment. And I just was in Sydney, as I said, and she was in the audience and assisting, and I said, I'm going to write a number on the back of the board here, and when you get out, your next step is to read the board, and then, tell me what's going on in the room. And it was amazing because she was able to read the board, and not only read the board, but one of my other trainers, his phone not went off, but he was looking at his phone face, and when she was observing him do that, she was mad because he was way on the other side of the auditorium, and she could see him without eyes looking at his phone. And we sat down to dinner that night, and she said, "Hey, you shouldn't be looking at your phone while everybody else is in meditation." He started to laugh because he didn't think anybody saw him because he was trying to hide. So when you focus on the unknown, you get the unknown.
I know, that's so powerful. So have other people in your classes developed that same ability?
Yeah, well, I don't know about that same ability, but there are people having some very significant interdimensional experiences, and those interdimensional experiences are happening in the 99% of reality that we edit out and that has nothing to do with materialism. So in our advanced workshops, we work on creating some altered states, and people have had some very, very important and very significant experiences that are similar to those, yeah.
Wow, that's fabulous. Go out and get Dr. Joe's book, You Are the Placebo. It's making your mind matter, and it's really quite wonderful. I have been thoroughly enjoying it. It's really quite wonderful. I'm interested in accessing those meditations as well. Are those the same ones that you use during your workshops?
Only one. Because we do work on beliefs and perceptions, but it's only a small portion of the workshop. But that one, the changing beliefs and perceptions, we do a similar one, not exactly, but a similar one in the workshop because I wanted to refine the skill for people. But there are several other ones that we do, yeah.
What I really like about what you're doing is that it truly opens us up to our magnificent selves, to really step out of all of the limitations and become what Bruce Lipton coined the Homo luminous being that I think is our next step of evolution. Do you have any words of wisdom? I know you've got lots of wisdom to share with our listeners. What words of wisdom would you like to share with us?
Well, I think that, I have been completely humbled. When I say humbled by all of this, and as I say in my book, I really never planned on doing any of this, but observing people really apply these principles is really such a gratifying and humble experience for me. And I think that when you see someone dance the salsa well and you dance the salsa, you'll dance the salsa better. If you see someone hit a golf ball really well and you play golf, you, by observing them, will hit a golf ball better because of mirror neurons. If you see someone lead with compassion and courage in their life, you're more prone to lead with compassion and courage in your life. And if you see someone stand up, or you read a story of someone overcoming a difficult condition or creating a new life for themselves, you're more prone to accept, believe, and surrender without any analysis that it's possible for you to do the same. And I always say to how do we become supernatural? We have to start doing what's unnatural. That means when everybody else is in lack and everybody else is in poverty, that's the time to give. When everybody else is in fear and scared, that's the time to show courage. When people are living with hostility and anger, that's the time to show compassion. And if you keep doing what's unnatural over and over again, sooner or later will become supernatural. And people really learn by observation, and that gives us permission to be the example, to be the living example of all the changes that we'd like to see in the world.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for being our guest today, and I'm just so honored to be able to share you with our listeners.
Well, thank you for all that you do also.
Well, it's my pleasure. For more information on Dr. Joe Dispenza, his books, his website, his social media information, visit his show page on TheHavingItAllShow.com. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Having It All Show and never miss an episode. Visit TheHavingItAllShow.com, and there in the banner on the top of the page, you'll see a red subscribe for free on iTunes button. On the show pages, you can also listen through the Stitcher app. And if you're on an iPhone, click on TheHavingItAllShow.com/ITC, where you can easily subscribe on iTunes. Looking for more wealth and wellness? Visit TheHavingItAllShow.com, download your free guide, 5 Steps to Wealth and Wellness and the Pitfalls to Avoid. That's TheHavingItAllShow.com.
Join MarBeth on The Having It All Show, Lifestyles of the Rich and Conscious. Visit TheHavingItAllShow.com now to learn more about MarBeth and her special guests and download your free report.